Today's termination of the final remnants of Title 42.
We should establish for our audience what Title 42 is, which, from my understanding, it was basically an action to stop migrants from coming in during COVID, just because of the spread of COVID at the time.
I can explain it really quickly.
Do not come. Do not.
I'm going to come.
Yeah, no, it's basically COVID stuff.
This is the U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
By the way, I just want to say, how often do
sick.
conservative media outlets try and brand the Mexican government and the Mexican military and the Mexican police as weak and incompetent, and they don't care about doing their job?
That's what I figured we're going to do today, because the Title 42 expiration is making all these people paranoid. So I figured we were going to look at some of their...
It's an invasion!
Yeah. It's coming. They're coming. Let's check out Al Jazeera.
Red button issue in the US for the last few years. Fentanyl. The synthetic...
Oh, come on. Even they show the rainbow fentanyl. Come on, Al Jazeera. This is the two pictures that they have. The other picture is this bag opened, right? This is the same two pictures that they were showing of fentanyl on the other one. This is the only two pictures of rainbow fentanyl.
They must be the only fentanyl pictures available on
this is
images.
Classic. The DEA is the ones who took this picture.
Of course they are.
50 times stronger than heroin, with the overdose rate to match. And some Republican lawmakers have been ratcheting up the pressure on Mexico to stop it getting into the states, led by Senator Lindsey Graham.
Fentanyl is a killer, and the people killing Americans reside out in the open in Mexico. We're going to designate these groups.
He's trying to introduce legislation to designate Mexican cartels as international terrorist organizations and potentially authorize the U.S. military to head into the country to stop them. And Mexico's not happy.
These proposals are in themselves a lack of respect and a threat to our sovereignty.
President López Obrador was speaking in his Tuesday morning press conference. He wasn't addressing the US, but actually reading aloud from a letter he just sent to the president of China. Why? Because some fentanyl comes from China into Mexican ports, either as separate ingredients already fully produced, and is then processed and smuggled into the US. López Obrador's letter asks his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping for help in stopping that, but only after several paragraphs of denouncing the demands of the US politicians.
It's just the latest act in what's been largely political theatre. Senator Graham's proposal to send US troops into Mexico was never going to get off the ground. Likewise, President Xi Jinping of China is highly unlikely to intervene and stop fentanyl precursors from getting into Mexico. But it does give everyone the chance to beat their drum just before election season. Meanwhile, there is a real problem.
Mexican cartels are doing big business with fentanyl, and the US government is talking with Mexico about how to stop them. The problem is that you can't
just don't let the GOP talk to them
without reforming a whole law and order system, says security analyst Falco Ernst. So the outcome of all the talk? Likely some saber rattling until the political expediency is gone. Meanwhile, the laws of supply and demand keep the river of drugs running from Mexico into the US.
Man, that ending on supply and
report.
But the ending on supply and demand,
Yeah. Al Jazeera is always pretty good when it comes to this sort of stuff, I find.
I mean, it was okay.
It was a short one. What, 2 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of short ones. We're just going to see what a lot of people have to say.
With today's termination of the final remnants of Title 42.
Real quick, before we get into anything, we should establish for our audience what Title 42 is, which, from my understanding, it was basically an action to stop migrants from coming in during COVID, just because of the spread of COVID at the time and any health risks that may have come with that. If any of you want to add anything about that, please do, because that's all I really know.
Okay,
so.
I can explain.
I don't know a thing.
I can explain it really quickly.
Do not come. Do not.
I'm gonna come.
Yeah, no, it's basically COVID stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also like it's just a continuation of Trump's policy. Like that's what we said from the start, is nothing on the border is going to change going from Trump to Biden. It's just not going to happen. They're going to do it the same way. The more control they can have on these undocumented workers, the better for them.
Actually abolished what remained of America's borders and turned the United States into a dumping ground for illegal aliens from all over the world. We've become a third world nation. At this very moment, illegal aliens are lined up by the tens of thousands, ready to break into our country, knowing that even if they are caught, Joe Biden will order them immediately released into American communities. And many of these people are very dangerous. Under Biden, our border is gone, our sovereignty is gone, our national security is gone, and we are quickly becoming that third world nation that I've been talking about for.
Okay, you're becoming one now? I thought you just said we were one. Are we one, or are we becoming one?
Bit of consistency at least. Come on.
Yeah.
So long, it's happening to us, if you can believe that. The United States of America is now a third world nation. On day one of my
You're an idiot.
I will end this travesty and restore the sovereign borders of the United States of America. We will immediately resume expedited removals of people that are crossing illegally our border. And following the model of President Eisenhower, we will use all necessary federal, state, local, and military resources to begin the largest domestic deportation effort in American history, to send the border violators back to their home countries, and we will do that immediately. This invasion will not stand. Our country is being invaded. Our country is being...
There's the narrative.
...by very, very stupid people. These are stupid people. We have to get them out. We have to take back the White House. Thank you very much.
See, it's such a
That was
great...
insane.
It's such a great issue to focus on as a split issue, because we're not going to ban illegal immigration. Come on. It's something that's never going to go away, that's completely necessary, that's required. So it's something that will permanently be able to fearmonger off of.
It's great campaigning, basically.
The faster people realize that, the better.
Well, dude, it's great campaigning just globally. You know, like things are only going to get worse with the climate crisis.
I mean, it's here as well. It's been here for a while, this whole thing. The immigration thing, like 90, probably in the late 90s is when it started happening here. The boat people.
Dude, it probably even dates back further than that. Like in the U.S., you don't have to, like 100 years ago, same shit. I guarantee you people were making, political campaigns off this shit. It's, it's a great way for parties in Europe, like far-right parties in Europe, to get a rise out of people.
But the other thing is that it's such an easy thing to catalyze people on, right? You pick a few choice examples and you use that as anecdotes, and then extrapolate on that.
The thing is anything negative associated with Mexico or Syria or Africa or like West Africa, whatever it is, that is like associated with these people will ultimately become associated with the immigrants who come there, and therefore they'll never be able to get that type of like suspicion off of their back, because they can just be like, well, ISIS is sneaking in, or the cartels are sneaking in, or whatever. It's like when you look at Mexican immigrants in the U.S., like illegals from Mexico or El Salvador or the Honduras or wherever, they've got nothing to do with the cartels who are coming in from, who are like
that's the thing.
drugs.
It's one of those things where you have to pick the battle that you're actually fighting here.
And then when it's like, when you look at, especially like 8 years ago during the height of the migrant crisis in Europe, when you looked at Syrians who were there, the attacks, all these attacks that were carried out in Europe, all these ISIS-inspired attacks, the Syrians who were in Europe had nothing to do with them. It was all like native-born people from countries like Belgium, from France, from the UK, who may have been of Pakistani origin or Tunisian origin or Algerian origin or Moroccan origin or whatever, and it's a great way for these countries to like deflect any blame on their incompetence. It's a great way for the United States to deflect blame
speaking of
for their incompetence of dealing with the cartels. Ted?
Here at our southern border, that's the Rio Grande River right behind me. I'm in Brownsville, Texas. Title 42 is going to expire in just a few hours. We're seeing an invasion at our southern border, and there are right now over 22,000 illegal immigrants right across the river. You can see the lights. You can see people camping out. You can see a fire right there.
No
You'd love
way.
to see them. They're waiting.
People?
They're waiting for Title 42 to expire. And then the invasion we're going to see is going to be massive. We already have the worst illegal immigration in the history of our country. And in just a few hours, it's getting worse. Joe Biden, this is your fault. The people who are killed crossing illegally, that's your fault. The women who are sexually abused crossing illegally, that's your fault. The children who are brutalized crossing illegally, that's your fault. The people dying of drug overdoses, over 100,000 last year, that is your fault. Come down here, President Biden. Stop hiding in the basement. Stop pretending this misery is not your fault. Stop it. This is not humane.
Stop it.
This is not compassionate. This is cruel.
How would we suggest that he deals with, like, do you think people wouldn't come in if we still had Title 42 up?
I got an idea. What if we outlaw illegal immigration?
Yes. Outlaw. Legal.
But-
Sorry. Illegal. Make
Outlaw
it
the
more
illegal. Yeah, you got to outlaw it. So that way they know if they cross illegally, it's against the law.
From Iowa's seek recognition.
Okay, this is from 4 months
To
ago.
address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend.
Without objection, the gentlewoman's recognized.
Who the
for 1
fuck
minute.
is that?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to address the ongoing crisis at our border. When President Biden took office
Where are
in
the
January
memes?
2021, he inherited common sense immigration policies such as Remain in Mexico and Title 42 that worked to keep our nation safe, reducing the flow of illegal.
Common sense.
Unfortunately, President Biden immediately ceased construction of the border wall and enacted policies favoring illegal immigrants over Americans.
Dude,
Thankfully, the Supreme Court has challenged the legality
the
of
thing that
President
kills
Biden's
me about,
policies
like,
and over.
these whenever they say, like, common sense, they're like common sense policies, and I know they don't mean it that way, but, like, immigration policies are not common sense. That's like a specialized, like,
It's
like something
so
you need,
complicated.
that's something you need to study for decades.
That's so funny because it's such a buzzword. Everything that they try and put forward, doesn't matter what type of politician it is, they're always like common sense insert policy because it's just a meaningless fucking political term.
Common sense is looking both ways before you cross the road. Or, like,
I also have
not fucking
no clue who this
border
lady
policy.
is.
Let's hear her out.
Like, I don't know who she is.
Return the removal of Title 42. Now it is Congress's time to act. Both Republicans and Democrats acknowledge that our immigration system is broken, but only Speaker McCarthy's commitment to America has a plan to repair our broken immigration system. This Congress, Republicans will pass legislation that secures our border, stops the influx of illegal drugs and criminals, ends catch and release loopholes, and human trafficking. Americans deserve a government that works in their best interest, and these policies will create a safe and secure nation. I'd also like to wish a very happy birthday to my LD, Kyle Jacobs.
Holy shit.
You think
Oh
they got,
my
like,
god. You know what the best part about this is? She hit all the buzzwords.